Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your friend here, Raza is Retro, and I hope everyone is remaining retro. So this is my entry for the Shan and Raza Cup Super Double Dragon One Life Challenge. As you guys know, I had to put this game out there. It's a game that's very special to Sean and I. I'm not really going to talk about the memories that I have for this game because I do have something planned for that. In actuality, I actually had a lot of things I wanted to do for this month for Super Double Dragon, but unfortunately, life, work, time, kids, um, and just sometimes not feeling too into it. I wasn't able to do as much as I wanted to, but I do have something planned where I'm going to do another maybe playthrough, or I'm going to share some clips to talk about really what this game meant for me and Sean. And at the same time, there was something else that I had in mind, maybe a couple of shorts. I'll be looking to do that sometime later in the month, possibly uh, in June. We'll see. But I do have some things planned. But basically, before I talk a little more about, I guess, the game or the strategy that I'm going to try to use, um, I just want to give a big shout out to everybody that took part so far. Retro Projections, John Bunday, Galloway Gaming, Saber Duel Gaming, Retro Tap, Raichu Reeves. If there's anybody I missed, I do apologize. But I know it's a game that a lot of people haven't played. A lot of people haven't even heard of it. A lot don't have access to it. The game has its flaws, yes, for sure, but I still think it's a great game. Um, in particular, the music, the graphics, especially the background, some of the most beautiful backgrounds I've seen in a video game. Um, the AI is cheap for sure. Um, there is some glitches and bugs because the game was never fully finished or developed. Um, so it it was a good game, but if it if they were able to complete it and really really work on it a little more, um, the game would be even better for sure. Um, for a challenge, I think it's a good challenge because it's actually pretty tough. It's not an easy game. It doesn't show any mercy. You don't have a chance to get any additional life bars or health. Um, but the one thing that really for me is that I don't like about the game, as much as I love it, is the AI. It can be very cheap sometimes. One thing, and that's going really far ahead, that disappointed me with the game growing up was the ending. Because the ending is just a very quick, maybe 30 or 20 seconds max. It just gives you, a brief story of what happens, and that's it. There's no cutscene or anything like that. And in Return of the Double Dragon, which is the Japanese version, which is the more polished version of this game, there's not even an ending. It just goes to the staff roll. So, yeah, that's quite disappointing. There was one thing that somebody mentioned, which I never even thought about, but it makes complete sense. Is that PG Venom mentioned that the fact that there isn't uh, boss music, like once you face the boss, the music doesn't change. He found that a little disappointing, and it wasn't something that ever occurred to me, but he's absolutely right. Um, I agree with him on that. Retro projection, he mentioned a lot of things that he didn't like, and I mean, to be fair, he's right. It's more about the technical aspect of the game and the bugs and the glitches. But there is some of you that enjoy the game as well. I know PG Venom liked it as well for the most part. Saber Duel Gaming as well. But whether you liked it or not, I do appreciate you guys taking part. Don't mind the slowness. It's because I'm playing this on an emulation console, so it does do that. That's not Super Double Dragon glitching. At least I hope it isn't. It usually does that sometimes when I play on this console. And there we go. It's back. Um, so yeah, I really just appreciate everybody taking part. So the strategy that I try to use if I'm doing a one life challenge, or even if I'm just playing in general, is I try to. And the reason I'm laughing now is because I was going to mention something, and I did the complete opposite. I try to keep them on one side, but at the same time, it depends on the environment. With the elevator stage, it's good to keep them on one side, but if you're not able to, then what you can try to do is have them both on the opposite sides, but literally punch one, knock him out, and then go straight to the other guy and punch him. What I'm also doing here is a wall jump technique. So when you jump in Super Double Dragon, certain environments you can like bounce off the elevator or the walls, and you could do like a ricochet to go on to the other direction. So I like to use that as well because I do feel like it can be beneficial, like especially in a case like this if I'm trying to get them on one side like that right there. Um, the other thing is there's also the blocking technique, but I'll be honest with you, although it's a great technique, it's not a technique that I've really used while playing this game. Um, and especially if I'm trying to like do a high score challenge, I'm gonna play the way that I play. When I do the video um, of about what this game actually meant to me and Sean, I'll try to play more stylish. I won't care about losing lives or whatnot. Now, there is a matter of pride, I guess, if you will. So I do want to try to, get a high score. Um, I've tried to do this before, like in the past, just like on my own, be like, hey, how far can I get without losing one life? And the farthest I've ever gone is the second stage. A lot of times I do end up dying in the first stage. So don't be surprised if I end up losing hair, or if I end up losing in the second stage. If I get to the third stage without losing a life, it would be a miracle. Um, but regardless, like I said, it's a game that I've always enjoyed. Um, One thing somebody else mentioned, I believe that was PG Venom as well, is that like you don't actually have the characters' names. So like if you look at games like Final Fight, uh, Streets of Rage, each character or each enemy, they have their name attached to their name attached to them. They also have a life bar. When you buy the game, or if you ever bought the game with a box and the manual, in the manual it actually does give the name of the characters. I always found this one, the Blanca looking character, like PG Venom mentioned, I always found that he looked like Blanca as well. His name is actually William, which really doesn't suit him in my opinion, but anyways. I believe that Karate Kid looking guy is Ripon, if I'm not mistaken. This boss, I always used to call him Alex, but his name is actually Steve. But the reason why I called him Alex was because there was a kid that I went to school with in high school, and he looked like him, like literally. So I used to call him that. Um, but yeah, there's little things here and there. Those type of things, they didn't bother me about Super Double Dragon. Like I said, the main thing was really just the fact that the AR is kind of cheap. Well, not kind of, it is cheap. It would be nice to have, a way to get your life bar restored. But at the same time, I find that because it doesn't do that, it adds to the challenge of the game. So it's not it's not a deal breaker for me. But the thing that really, really was disappointing is like whenever I played the game, whether I played with Sean or myself, and whenever I did beat it, just not having a proper ending, a nice cutscene, that was always that was always disappointing. Um, I remember I played this a couple of days ago, so I didn't really get a lot of chance to play Super Double Dragon for the One Life Challenge, but I did try to give it a go. I remember at one point I came towards Steve, and I was trying to play fancy, and I ended up losing. It was like he was blocking, and he gave me a couple kicks and punches, and my life ended there essentially. So I was trying to be a little cautious while fighting. The other thing with Super Double Dragon is the knife. Like, if it hits you in this case, because I have a full life, it's not going to take away my whole life, but it's going to take away more than half. A lot more than half. And if you lose a normal amount of life and you get hit by a knife, you're pretty much dead. So that's where it can become tricky. I've always loved this stage as well, the airport. Just you have the departure people in the back just watching on. You got the telephone, you got the beautiful airplane in the back. The stages, the music, like I said, it looked great. I don't think most people would disagree on that. Um, I always found that it looked like a quite a beautiful looking game, and I mean, yeah, the amount of hours and time that I've spent on this game, like I can't even tell you guys. Um, and I will say this game is best played with two players. If you're able to play this with a friend, a family member, whoever, like that's the way the game is meant to play. It becomes more fun. Obviously, you have an additional help. You have two modes where you can actually hit each other, and one mode where you're not able to hit each other. The mode where you're able to hit each other, that becomes even more challenging because it can happen sometimes for sure by mistake. But when me and Sean would play, we would just play with the mode uh, where you're not able to hit each other because yeah, it can get frustrating sometimes. I remember sometimes we would throw a knife or something, or even if we had a nunchuck or we're trying to kick the other opponent, and we just end up hitting each other. This kick, by the way, the one that I'm doing right now, this is like one of my favorite kicks in the game. One thing though that people don't mention, and I think most people can admit that, is like the actual fighting or the move sets that you're able to do in this game is pretty awesome for a beat 'em up. It's not just a standard punch, and let's say you press the jump button and the attack button, and you do like a special move. Like there's a good amount of punches, a good amount of kicks. Uh, your jump kick, your spin kick, and then just a combination of all these things you can do, and of course, obviously the block feature, which is a great feature as well. I think this is the first game, and I could be wrong, in a beat 'em up that had this feature to block. But like I said, for the purposes of this video, I'm not using it, or I won't be using it as much, just because it could be tricky. Because if you don't time your block, you actually have to time it. You're gonna end up screwing up essentially. And because it's a one life challenge, I want to try to see how far I can get. For here, the stairs, I try to use this technique where I let them come to me, and I do the spin punch. So basically, I hold the shoulder button, but I don't let it go halfway, and then I do the punch button, and it does several punches. Here, I'm going to try to do a kick, and I completely missed my target. But I always loved doing that back in the day, standing on top there and just doing the spin kick. I always thought it was a pretty beautiful thing to look at. The game itself, if you guys are wondering, it does have 7 levels. I'm not going to get to 7 levels on one life, as much as I would love to, show that with you guys. But yeah, it does have 7 levels. Level 2, you're at the airport. Level 3 is Chinatown. Level 4 is the truck stage, which is my favorite stage. Level 5, I believe, is like the extension of the truck stage. Level 6, you're in the jungle, which is pretty interesting. And then level 7, you're at the bad guy's mansion or house, whose name is Duke. And you basically have to duke it out with him at the end of the game. Get it? His name is Duke. Duke it out. No pun intended. Lame humor, I know. But yeah, man. For anybody that has played this or hasn't, let me know what you think. If you like it, don't like it. Everyone has their opinion, and I'm not one of those persons that's gonna be like, oh, well, you're right or you're wrong. Of course not. I'm always open to listen, and a lot of people have brought up a lot of good things or even bad things about the game, and it was even certain things that I never actually thought about. But for me, like I said, till the day I die, this is gonna be a game that's always gonna be special, despite its flaws, despite its bugs and glitches. For me, like, even though it has all those bugs and glitches, it is still an awesome game. So just imagine what this game could have truly become, had it filled its true potential. There is some like hack versions of this game that I've seen online, which were pretty interesting. If anybody ever wants to check those out. As you guys can see here, I've been yapping away, and I just realized my life is not the best. I'm going to use this technique, just a jump kick. I know it's not the most fun technique, but I mean, it's handy because sometimes if you just go and you try to punch, it doesn't always work as well. Um, so this is the best technique to use in a situation like this. But I think I might just stop because it could be boring. And as I said that, Piper, I died. Well, thank you everybody for watching. I really, really appreciate it. I really appreciate you all. Always remain retro. The next challenge will be coming out sometime this week, and it comes to us from none other than Mr. Rampage Talk. Until then, remain retro.